Hello, good evening. Hi, hi. The guest will be joining in short time. Okay. Hi, Yogesh.
Hello, hi Manjari, hi.
Hi. So, guys, we have Yogesh here, CTO of Beep, and he's an expert in Node.js and Express.js. So, who else could be a better person to, guide you through all the coding and technical things? So, let's get started with the session. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you Manjari. Thanks a lot. And good to be here. It's been so long that I have taken a webinar for the students, and it feels great. So I welcome everyone here, and so I give you just brief introduction about myself. I have been myself an entrepreneur, and created multiple products in the past. And specifically, I have invested a lot of my time into engineering, mostly into technology itself. So and this feels to be good, I mean, to be here. And so I got this request for the node.js and express.js, actually, particularly since we are also into the node.js architecture system. I mean, we have recently revamped our entire system from Python to node.js, and has been a great exciting journey. So I'll just start with you from the very basics of Node.js, why we use it, how can we use it, and then we'll dive into the proper core features of it, right? So you get a basic understanding that how can you actually become a Node.js developer and actually excel in your career and get a good job in terms of backend development and overall Node.js API integrations, right? All right, so let's get started. And thanks for having me here, by the way, everyone. What I'll do is I'll share my screen and just go through the slideshow. Just give me a second. So let me know if you are able to see my screen. Um, just confirm me, Manji, if I'm okay. Cool. So my screen is visible, I guess. Cool. All right. So let's get started with our Node.js webinar. And along with Node.js, we will go with Express.js as also. And what is Node.js? What is Express.js? We'll dive into all these topics. But first, let's start with the basic, content introduction. So these are the pointers we will be looking into in this slideshow. So forget about the Node.js or Express.js or Java, Python. Forget about this. First, we need to understand what is exactly these things are doing. Right? Why are these things are there? Why do we need them into our web development? And how can we actually understand in such a way that we can actually build our own applications, right? You must be getting out of college or maybe doing a job or maybe doing professional work also. Let's say you're having 2 3 years of experience, but still sometimes you get confused that why should I go with this technology, or let's say go with another technology. So all these questions comes in a mind, right? So we'll go through the basics, from front end to back end. Then we'll dive into the node.js, why it's there, then express.js. Then looking into that, we will dive into the code concepts, and after that we will start in looking into things that how can we actually build a simple application from node.js, express.js, and other tools which are required to make it, and what are the best practices we can follow along while we are making our application, right? And then we will dive into that question and answer section, right? So I think this seems great. Let's dive into the basics of front end and back end. Okay. So I'm pretty sure that you guys must be coming from colleges, as I can see in the comment section. Some people are from colleges and doing some job also, right? So, but still, I'll just give you a basic introduction that how does web development works actually. So what happens is whenever you are actually creating a website, whatever you see on your screen, that is entirely your front end thing, right? And that is called the client side, which is visible on the browser. So let's say you type in youtube.com, right? And you see that videos are coming in, you see the news feed is there, you see whenever there's a search bar also, you can type the search and you get the results, and whatever the results are there, you can see it on your screen. So that is what a client side thing is happening. So all these technologies are designed on the front end side. Now what happens on the back end side? So whenever you see the data, right? So whenever you start typing something and the results comes along, let's say you type in youtube, let's say I want to learn node.js, and then node.js videos comes along, right? So that query went to the server, and the server actually fetch the particular keywords from your search and gave you the results, desired results. It's not like you type in I want to learn Node.js and you get the videos of marketing, right? It does not happen. Why? Because the server is handling all your keywords on the backend side and it is giving you the right query and the right outputs on your screen. And then the front end actually front end actually catches it and shows it on your on your particular browser. So that is the major difference between front end and back end. Front end specifically deals with HTML, JavaScript, CSS, or you might have heard of React.js or AngularJS frameworks, right? So all these JavaScript frameworks are designed to work upon the front end part. But when we talk about the backend part is mostly dependent upon the databases, the API structuring, the querying, and all. It's all about the how you can actually do all these complex calculations. For example, you want your users to log in your system. For a user to log in your system, or let's say they want to sign in with Google or sign in with Facebook, you need to have a backend structure ready along with a database where you can actually store the data, right? So all these things comes into the backend wala part. Now we'll look into like how can we actually get started with the Node.js backend, right? So before I dive into the Node.js backend thing, I would like to highlight that there are multiple technologies are out there for backend. Okay, I mean if you look at the backend technologies, we started with like if you consider C, C++, these are also backend technologies altogether because they work in the background. There's nothing to be displayed on the web browsers, right? It is every calculation is happening on the background on the terminal side only. But eventually they do a lot of complex programmings for you, right? So you might have heard of Java. Java was a very popular language for the backend for a very long time. Then we had Python also. Python, they launched Django framework also. Even Instagram, right? Instagram, you might be using it, right? Instagram started with Python Django framework. They created their entire backend on Python Django actually. And if you talk about the Facebook started with PHP. So these were the technology back then where we used to get started on our backend systems. But nowadays we have a lot of options. We have options for every single particular component or modules actually. Now why we like Node.js got popular because of the ease of things, because of the ease of things we can do in Node.js, and it's very easy to get started on Node.js. That's why you might be seeing Node.js getting popular in all the tech people, and you must be getting to know that that dive coming from a front end background, you can always dive into the back end also nowadays because the syntax is pretty same. And why is that? Because JavaScript is being used to write the front end frameworks, right? But now what you can do is you can write backend coding also with JavaScript only because Node.js completely supports JavaScript syntaxing. So you can write server things, file systems, and every all sort of server things in JavaScript syntax only, and you will be able to wrap it up within no time. So that is the biggest advantage we have in Node.js. If I talk about the other technologies or other platforms, let's say Django, right? Django is a Python supported framework, but that if you need to write code something in Django, you need to learn the Python altogether from the scratch. And then if you're coming from a front end background or from a different background, it will be a learning curve for you to understand it first, then actually start writing the code. Then eventually things might get delayed, right? And you might get confused in between. But with Node.js, there's nothing as such like that. What you can do is in Node.js, you just need to know JavaScript, and it's very good that if you know TypeScript. TypeScript is just a superset of JavaScript only. It is just a TypeScript typing where you can actually doing JavaScript only under the hood, but eventually binding it all strongly so that your code does not create bugs, or you do not create in any kind of a mess or in a nested loop. That's why we are going with the TypeScript. And Node.js, if when you're starting with Node.js, you need to have this Node.js environment. Okay, so Node.js environment, I'll take this in the next slide that I'll explain you exactly how Node.js actually works and what is Node.js environment, right? And after that, you need to have this one database. So whenever you are working with a backend, always keep in mind that you need to have one single database. Otherwise, how will you save the data? you need to have a single database where you can actually save the data, right? So there are multiple databases out there. There are MySQL database, there is PostgreSQL database, there is MongoDB's database, right? So you might have heard of MongoDB with Node.js, right? They are like a very good combination of things. So, but it totally depends upon the application. I mean, to be fair, I mean, what kind of a application you are trying to make, that eventually gives you an idea that what database you should go for. Like if you are making an unstructured database type of website, let's say you are making a social platform, okay, let's say you are making a social platform where people are coming in on your particular post and start commenting on it. You might have seen on Instagram also. You go there, you type comment, and then on comment itself you write another comment. So there is a nested loop of comments, right? So when you don't know that what kind of a loop can be created when the unstructured data is coming in, then you always opt for the MongoDB databases. And but let's say you have a very strict database timelines where let's say you are creating a student platform, or let's say college database platform, then there things are very clear that these things are there. I mean, the name, email ID, phone number must be there. Then the fixed things only, then you should opt for MySQL database, because that is good for tabularization. And then finally you need to have a one code editor. So VS Code is the code editor which I personally use. I mean, there are multiple code editors out there, like Sublime Text also, VS Code is there, JetBrains is also there, and Google recently launched their own coding platform also. But it all depends on you, like how comfortable you are on a code editor. I am pretty comfortable on VS Code, so that's why I use VS Code. So yeah. So these are the basic tools we need to get started with Node.js. To first thing is you need to know the JavaScript basics. You need to have one database ready, okay, and you need to have VS Code. And fourth one is the Node.js environment. Node.js environment is something which you need to download it from the Chrome browser or any of the browser. Basically, let's say you are on Windows, you can simply type Node.js download. Then it will redirect you to the Node.js website where you can actually simply just download the Node.js and install it, and it will install Node.js on your machine. Or if you're on MacBook, there's a similar process only. You just need to download it from there itself. Now moving on. Now, why Node.js and Express.js? So, well, this is a very big topic. I mean, I could go like around more than a month actually to explain like why Node.js is there and what are the perks, what are the things, what can we do with Node.js, because I have been developing applications in Node.js from last more than 10 years. So I can tell you like a lot of about Node.js, but what I want you to focus on this webinar particularly is the basics and the core features of Node.js, and why you should opt for it and how is that helpful for you, and especially for your career. I mean, to get a good backend job, I would say that Node.js is the right approach if you're coming from a JavaScript background. I mean, because if you know JavaScript, Node.js will be your ally in your backend systems. So yeah, that's what Node.js is all about. So I tell you a story. I mean, if I give you a story about Node.js, so Node.js was when it was developed, right? It's not a language actually. People sometimes get confused, and Node.js is a language. No, it's not a language actually. Node.js is an environment. Okay, environment means it gives you a box basically in which you can write JavaScript for the backend things. So it's like an environment, okay? And this environment works very flawlessly, very smoothly because of its nature, right? And when I say because of its nature, Node.js is built upon V8 Chrome engine. So right now you must be using Chrome browser, right? So Chrome browser runs on a engine, right? And that engine is called V8 engine, and the same engine was used to design Node.js also. So Node.js is running on V8 engine only, and that V8 engine of the Chrome is built upon C++ library. So technically, if you look at the Node.js, it is working upon the layers of things which was built upon the C++ language only. So that's why it's pretty fast, it's pretty good. Now people say that it's Node.js is very fast, right? And I tell you the exact reason why Node.js is really fast. I mean, so if you look at the other languages, let's say PHP, Java, and all these things, these languages are multi-threaded. Okay, multi-threaded means you have multiple threads where you can actually process your particular statements or functions, right? But Node.js is a single thread a single thread system. But the benefit of Node.js on being single threaded, it does not block any operations because it has a system mechanism in such a way that it handles all the operations on the background. If there is a blocking operation, then it will pass the operation to the event queue loop. And the now event queue loop operations comes into play whenever there is a task which are being performed and it takes times, let's say complexity is there, let's say web API functions are there. What it'll do is it will pass it to the event queue loop. And event queue loop basically what it does is it takes your CPU cores. So let's say your CPU is 4 cores CPU. It will take your CPU cores, dive into that, and uses that their threads only. And because of that, it is non-blocking and directly like having a single thread only, but it's still much faster than the other languages. If you compare the speed of Node.js along with the other languages, let's say Java, PHP, it is much faster. And because of that only, big companies, giants companies like PayPal, Shopify, eBay, they all shifted from Java to Node.js, and they reduce the cost altogether of the servers also. I mean, because if you look at the amount of requests they receive in a day is pretty huge, right? They get, let's say, more than millions of billions of requests in a day, and the amount of cost it goes into the server is pretty much high because they are utilizing multiple threads, and multiple threads charges a lot, right? But not just doing all that work on a single thread without blocking any operations. That's why Node.js has been the performer since last 10 years since its launch, right? That has been the best language for the API structuring on the backend side. So yeah, so this is one of the things, the performance and scalability. That is why Node.js is good. Now, single programming language. So I've already discussed you, like you are coming from a front-end framework, then it is the right language for you to get started on the backend because JavaScript is supported on Node.js also. So that is one of the biggest things. Now, if I talk about the rich ecosystems, now rich ecosystem is about the community it has. So Node.js, when Node.js was launched, they launched it with NPM, Node Package Manager. Node Package Manager is so huge, it's so big that no other community language can compete with it actually. I mean, no, NPM has become so big right now that there's no library as such, or there's no platform as such for any other language that can beat any of these frameworks actually. So because of this vast community and vast library of modules, it has the rich resources. For example, when I say NPM, so what is NPM basically? It has all the small modules or whatever you need to do on Node.js. For example, let's say a very small example. Let's say you want to create, let's say, authentication. Okay, authentication means allowing a user to come on your website and sign up on your website and then basically saves the data and captures. Let's say you want the user to log in with Google, or let's say with Facebook or GitHub or maybe Apple, right? So you need to write the code from the scratch. But NPM is something where people actually create their own modules, and you can use those modules into your application itself. So what you can do is there's a NPM library which is Passport.js. Passport.js helps you to actually to authenticate your user with Google and Facebook within no time. Like, it's very simple. You can just import the Passport.js and then just get started with it. So it's that simple. Now, because of these NPM libraries, people have contributed a lot of code on GitHub, on NPM website also, on the official website also. Because of that, they have a very large community. So let's say you get stuck at some point. Let's say you are working on Node.js, and you feel like that, I'm getting stuck here and I don't know what to do. Something is stuck and I don't know how can I proceed. What you can do is, you can, if you googles that particular problem, you will find tens of hundreds of solutions for that particular problem, because people have already gone through that problem, and community is so big, they try to answer on Stack Overflow or dev.to or Medium, or so many other post blogs are out there. So you can never get blocked actually. Whatever the problem you are facing, it must be faced by some other people, and they must have given the solution already. So you don't need to get stuck in Node.js environment, because people have contributed a lot. So that is what makes Node.js stands out from other languages. And minimalistic framework. When I say minimalistic, it does not need any of your machine's configuration, just like Java, PHP, or it does not ask you to define a lot of things. There's nothing you have to do. It's simple that you just download the Node.js and just get started with your Visual Studio Code and start writing the code. It's that simple. And of course, now coming up to the robust routing. So routing is the mechanism where you actually create routes for your API endpoints, right? And it's very simple to create with Node.js. And especially now I talk about the Express.js also. So robust routing actually provided by Express.js is the most phenomenal work they have done so far. And because of that only routing, Express.js have achieved so many good stars on GitHub. I mean, if you just Google Express.js GitHub, you will see a lot of stars on that particular repo just because of that part only. Because of the routing they sorted out for Node.js in such a way that it's very clean, it's very minimalistic. You can create routes very easily, like within 2 or 3 lines of code only. You are able to create routes. You are able to create endpoints. You are able to create pass in middlewares also into that particular endpoint. For example, let's say there is a page. Okay, there is a page which you want to show it only to the logged in users, but not to the not logged in user. Let's say, so you can do that in Express.js along with Node.js within just 2 lines of code. But you have to do it completely on Node.js. Then it might take some time for you to think. Might some take to couple of lines also to write it. But if you're using Express.js with Node.js, your job is almost half done. Like it's almost half done. It's that simple. So because of that, so these two people, Node.js and Express.js, has gone a good popularity. And Express.js is basically nothing but a framework on top of Node.js. So what happens is you download Node.js, you start working upon it, and what you do is you basically install Express.js from the npm library. So give me access to the full screen. Let me show you like how I do it. Like, yeah, all right, cool. So I just type npm express.js. So I go to the npmjs.com. So npmjs is the npm community which I was just discussing about, right? And here you can find any of the package you need. And here you can see Express here. This Express is being the most popular Express framework on Node.js. You can see it here. If you are able to see my screen, you can see in the weekly downloads, these are the numbers. These are the numbers. I mean, on a single day basis, these are the numbers they have. Like 25 million people are downloading this Express for their Node.js within a single day. So you can understand the level of contribution of this particular framework for the Node.js has been huge. It's great, like out of the box actually. So this is how it's that simple. Like if you want to write a routing, this is the code you have to write. This is the simplest code you can ever see. You just need to acquire the Express. You need to call it as an app, and you can just simply go like app.get, and you can start writing your endpoints here. There are multiple endpoints. Points are there, like say get, post, put, patch, whatever you want to use. Simply just write it here and just start writing your functions here only. So it is that simple. So that is what Express and Node.js created, a spectrum for entire backend industry, and that's why they have become so scalable. In a big or a small project. Even if you're doing a small project, it's good. Or let's say you're doing a medium project or a large project, Node.js and Express are best. I mean, as myself, we have been able to serve millions of users on our platform, and we did not see a single glitch on Node.js and Express.js, and we were able to do it. I mean, we started for an enterprise. We have to think a lot that what technology we should go for. We have to look into the details, right? And I'm telling you, Node.js and Express.js are able to handle small projects also, and they're able to handle millions of users also all together. So these guys are that powerful. So yeah, that was about most particularly about Node.js and Express.js, why they're good, why we should opt for it. Now we dive into the core concepts of Node.js. And as we already spoke, that routing is there. So routing is something where you actually create your endpoints, where you route your users to basically call the endpoints and get the data. So for example, let's say we create our endpoints like something like slash API slash user, and if I call slash user, then I will be getting all the users on our from the backend. Or let's say I call slash students, then I only get the students only. If I call the slash teachers, then I get only the teachers only on our platform. So this is how you do the routing. Middleware is something. Middleware is a concept in backend actually. It's not a concept of Node.js, but Node.js makes it so easy to use. That's why I have written the core concepts of Node.js. So middleware is a concept in overall backend industry. What happens is whenever you want to access something, okay, whenever you want to access as a particular route or an endpoint, you need to put some middleware logic in it. Let's say you want all the users to access a particular path, but you want to block it for some other users. Then you have to put in some middleware along with it. And that middleware is nothing but a function actually, which checks, if the user is authenticated or not authenticated, or if he's authorized or not authorized. These type of things have handles from the middleware only. And this makes like the use of middleware in Node.js is so pretty easy. It's very easy, and you can write function directly, and you can just simply pass it on. Now coming on to the templating engine, Node.js allows front-end things to be rendered from the server side also. So it supports Pug also. Pug is something which renders the front-end HTML, CSS, and JavaScript through Node.js also. So Node.js has good templating engine as well. So let's say when you want to do server-side rendering in your, let's say, website, then you need to have this template engine, and Node.js have it very well. Java does not have it. In Java, what you have to do is you have to install other, let's say, 5 to 6 libraries to make it possible. But in Node.js, it is already there. You just have to import Pug, and just you have to just start writing the code. Just that simple. Now coming to the error handling, Node.js already comes with the error handling features, and there are already a couple of good parameters that it provides. You just have to simply pass in request, response, and error, and then You just have to handle it with the very 2 lines of code only. Like you just have to write if and else, and then you will be able to handle it most of the errors through this basic syntax of the code. And the last one is the non-blocking architecture. Non-blocking architecture, as we discussed, Node.js does not stops any of the requests because it is an asynchronous non-blocking input-output architecture system, right? Which means that the Node.js works just like JavaScript only, just like how your JavaScript behaves, right? Whenever you call an API, or let's say whenever you call a button, right? And whenever you hit that particular button, and let's say you are loading an API and the data is getting loaded, but you can still browse the website, right? Even if the video is loading, you can still browse the YouTube. You can still scroll down, see other videos also, their thumbnails and their titles, right? You can still read it. That is happening because of the JavaScript nature, because the API call is happening on the background, but you're still able to perform other tasks also. So that is the nature of Node.js non-blocking architecture. Okay, so now we have seen that why Node.js is good and what core concept Node.js has, right? But what makes you stand out from a mediocre developer to a better developer in Node.js? What suggestion should I be providing you to become a good Node.js developer? So starting with this, first thing is always have this structured code organization. Okay, when I say structured code, so this is not particularly for Node.js only. It's about everyone. To be honest, like even if you're working on a front end or in a back end or in any other technology, you need to have this basic structure formation in the code part. And when I say basic structure coding, it means like you should not put in everything in a single folder. You should be categorizing it according to their types, according to their modules, according to their components. For example, you are creating routes for users, then it should be in a different folder. Let's say you're creating routes for students, then it should be in a different folder. Now let's say you are creating services for users, or let's say you are creating controllers for users, then all should be in different folders, right? So these are the basic practices that we should follow, because eventually what happens is as soon as you start developing your application or you start creating your own product, the product gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? Then things get start complicated. So the things should not happen in such a way. Then it's better that you start structuring your code from the beginning itself. So that is one of the best practices I would advise all my engineer team also. Always keep things clean and in a structured manner so that it is easy to track. It is easy to track bugs also in a system. So that is one of the things. Security practices. So whenever we talk about backend engineering, right, security comes first into place, because everything, like every user data is very critical, right? Let's say you are taking users let's say cards, let's say credit card details, or let's say you're asking for UPI payments also, you're asking for other sensitive information also. So these things are very important and they should not get leaked because of a single bug, right? So you need to have a good practices around whatever the things you are creating. Let's say you are creating a payment system. Okay. And when you're creating a payment system, you should be very careful, like how you are actually saving the data. The data should not be displayed even if the developer try to actually access it. No one should be able to access it. So these kind of security practices you need to behave. Or let's say sometimes you get hacker attacks also. So I tell you about one of the things that we usually get on our website. People try to hack our website. What they do is they try to hit our servers repeatedly. Okay, what they do is they try to hit our servers repeatedly, like within a single minute they try to hit it like 1,000 times. So what happens because of that? Once you hit our server for 1,000 times in a single minute, then the cost of our server increases rapidly. Then eventually we get a lot of bill. Eventually our server gets down, and the people who are actually using it, they are not able to use it. So that's how hackers attack your website and they try to drag you down basically. So these things, so these we have to think about these things. So what we have done is like we have covered all these practices, and we have designed our system in such a way so even if someone tries to try to get into our system, we have good security practices around our system so that no one can get in, and we are able to track it also. Even if someone tries it, we're able to see it. So these are the practices that you should be following. Now, performance optimization. Performance optimization means everyone can write code. To be honest, like everyone can start writing the code. You can write a to-do application. You can write a basic application, or whatever the kind of a system you are trying to create. But if it's not optimized enough, if it's not able to give you the right output in a very efficient way, then it's not a good system. Okay, simply putting you in this way, let's say let's say for example, you are signing up for a particular website, let's say, or let's say you are just signing up for a new application. You might have seen that they ask you to put your mobile number. Then you must be typing in your mobile number. Let's say you type in your mobile number, and then the OTP comes on your phone, right? Let's say assume that OTP is not coming within 30 seconds. Okay. Or let's say assume that you get the OTP, but you get five OTPs at a time. Or let's say the OTP came, but the OTP was not right? So all these things you have to optimize it, like how your component or your module is actually working for a particular feature. So let's say sign up OTP is a feature, right? And so whenever you hit on send OTP, the OTP should only be doing the OTP work only, not the other work around. It should just be hitting your database one time only. It should not be hitting your database twice or thrice, or no. It should be fitting just once only. The data should be coming directly through to your particular user's mobile number, and they should be able to type in their OTP. If they are not able to do it, then yeah, it's not optimized. Your overall system is not optimized. So all these practices comes under performance optimization. Now, fourth one is error handling and logging. Error handling and logging is especially for a good senior developer. When you become a very good senior developer, these things are very mandatory. Not for particularly Node.js, but for a senior developer, for even in any kind of technology, you are a senior developer. You need to have these things, and error handling is one of the crucial parts, because there will be times when you are creating a lot of features, and you will might forget that to handle one of the requests. And whenever one of the requests fails, or let's say blocks the user, or let's say your server might get crashed, right? Then the entire website will go down and users will not be able to use it. So error handling should always be there for any particular type of cases, and you should be logging it. When I say logging means basically printing every step, whatever the actions are happening on your server. You need to print all these loggings in a particular text file or word file or whatever. And this happens automatically actually. Logging you can manually configure on your servers, or whichever server you are using in. Let's say you are using Azure server or AWS or whatever server you are using it. You need to log basically from where you can actually track, like what kind of a request I'm getting in on my servers, and how can I track it, right? And now coming down to the testing part. So testing is like for particular every feature you create, always create test cases. When I say test cases means, let's say you created an endpoint, an API which gives you an OTP for a user, then you need to create a test function for that particular feature and you need to test it. If the test goes correct or it gets passed, then yeah, it's approved for you. It is approved for you. Then that is good because you have already tested it. Now you can move forward and actually release it onto the production for your users, right? So these things makes a from makes a good developer stand out from the normal developers. So you need to have these basic practices in your Node.js practice. Now coming down to the fun facts about Node.js. We have covered almost everything about the basics of the Node.js and how can we actually scale it. And now we talk about the how Node.js started it and what are the basic fundamentals between Node.js and JavaScript. As we already speak, that JavaScript is actually can be written on the front end side also and on the back end side also, and that's what makes JavaScript and Node.js quite compatible with each other. And it was basically founded in 2009, uh, from Randall actually, and it was created for real time application. And when I say real time application means where you actually your application is always on, right? Like your connection between your application on your users is always on. For example, WhatsApp. What Even if your phone is logged or it's put up on the table, right? You still get a notification as soon as your friend or your family member text you. You already get the message, right? So that is what happens in a real time application. This is what a real time application happens. So all these social media platforms, right? If you are going for a social media platform or where your application idea is something about dealing with users on the real time system, then you need to have then it's a good thing that you are going with a Node.js because Node.js provides that. If you remember, if you have gone through any of the chat handling applications nowadays, any application chat handling, they're all using Node.js in their background because Node.js allows these things to happen, and this happens because of the WebSocket. WebSocket is a technology in our industry which helps you to actually connect with your users on the real time, and the connection always stays alive unless you try to break it down. Otherwise, it stays online all the time. This is what happens in the WhatsApp or Instagram or any other messaging application. So that's what Node.js was created for, this particular things. And because of that, actually, so when Node.js came out, right, it gave a huge boost to the JavaScript because previously JavaScript was used to write the front end things only. But when Node.js came along, I mean, it allowed front end users to go into the backend technology also, and they started learning a lot, whole other technology stack altogether. They started learning databases, backend technologies, file systems also, how real how actually enterprise solutions are created. That's why developers saw a revolution into this industry because of Node.js itself. Now, so it's not a fun fact, but yeah, we have already discussed about this single-threaded but highly scalable. So Node.js is a single-threaded, but because of this event-driven architecture, event-driven means the event queue system which it has underneath. Because of that only, it uses your CPU cores and makes it possible to actually serves you a lot of requests and handles a lot of requests at a same time. So yeah. Now, that's it, man. I guess. So I think I've covered almost every topics, but I'm pretty sure that you guys must be having questions and answers, must be asking me. So this is a QA time. You can hit any questions you have. You can just put in your in the chat box, and I'll be happy to answer you whatever the queries you have, guys. So what you can do is you can just simply type in your messages in your chat box, and I'll be happy to answer any of the questions related to jobs and backend engineering, front engineering, web development, anything which might come to your. Yeah, we have one question from Atul. Okay, so he's looking for a job in Android development. Okay, so that's good, Atul. So basically, there are good market in Android development, I would say. I mean, every big product-based company. So as being ourselves, we as a product-based company, we always look for the best talent, and we are into the business of providing jobs and internships. You can definitely try it out on our app, or let's say if you're not able to get it, let's do share me your resume. Just connect me on LinkedIn. I'll definitely recommend you. No worries on that. Okay, Jugaad has any courses available? Definitely, at Deep we are going to launch a couple of courses on Node.js particularly, and in many of the courses I'll be teaching Node.js also, and few of the courses I will be taught by good mentors from Myntra, Flipkart, Amazon. So yeah, Jugaad, we will be providing good amount of courses. We have another question from Anush. Okay, how to learn Node.js? Well, to get started, Anush, I would say that uh, start with a very right set of courses. I mean, this is for everyone. I mean, guys. I mean, I have seen a lot of students getting distracted, and they don't have an idea actually where to actually get started for any particular technology, even if it's a Node.js or JavaScript or whatever it is. So what happens is, so I tell you what I do when I need to learn anything. Actually, what I do usually, I firstly go to their official website. Let's say I want to learn Node.js. What I'll do is I'll just simply go to the Node.js official website. I just get a glimpse, I'll just try to read it out, what are the outlines of Node.js, right? And try to understand that what are they trying to pitch. Now then I understand that a glimpse, then is I opt for the rightful courses. Okay. In the market currently, there are people who are just selling courses without no content. So don't trust that. Always opt for the courses who are taught by very good seniors who have actually done something with that particular technology. The people who have created big products from that particular technology can only tell you how to actually learn, right? So always opt for the coaches who has like mentors from good products like Myntra, Swiggy, Flipkart, or a good product based company only. Buy those courses only. Don't fall into the trap of you can see that on YouTube people are just giving free random content, and then what happens is like you eventually end up losing a lot of time, and that does not help you in your career. So don't go for these free or wasteful courses. I mean, the people are selling it, calling it that the best course. Yeah, don't do that. Always go with the course who has been taught by someone who is very senior, who has already worked in that particular field for at least more than 10 years, and then they have created something out of it. They are the rightful people who will teach you, right? So get from that courses here. And all right, so moving on, we have Shruti here. Okay, how to start with Node.js? Well, Shruti, it's very simple to get started with Node.js. What you have to do is simply just type Node.js download on the Google, and you will see the Node.js website will come along with the download option. You just click on that. If you are in Windows or MacBook, does not matter. They simply give you a downloadable file. You just click on it, install it. That's it. Now your Node.js is being done. What you need to do is now you need to create a project. Now you just head over to your code editor. You basically create a folder, and then from there itself just start your terminal in that particular folder, and just simply type npm initiate, npm space initiate. That is for basically getting started for your Node.js project. Node.js project always gets started with basic command npm space init. That's it. What it creates is it basically creates a file called package.json.
Okay, I think there's some network issue at Yogesh side. So, um, okay, he'll join again. Okay, so a lot of people were asking about any courses available. So we do have Node.js course, and let me present my screen. Okay, so Beep is offering. Yes.
So yeah,
Okay.
that's you.
Okay, Yogesh, you can continue with the Q&As.
Sure, sure. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
My laptop dropped and I got run out of the battery. Yeah. Anyway, so we were at Shruti, right? So many courses are available, I guess. With our Beep itself, you can get multiple courses, which are taught by the professionals who have actually worked upon these particular technologies, and you can get these courses at very good cost also. So yeah, look out for that things. We are trying to launch a good amount of courses to actually add value to the student's life. Now we have Ayush here. So how to prepare to interview for Node? Well, Ayush, I would say that for preparing for any technology, not for just particularly Node.js, all you have to do is just get the basics, fundamentals of that particular technology. So if you're going for the interview for Node, I would say get the fundamentals clear. How Node.js actually works. That is the first question they will ask. I mean, as me myself as CTO, I have worked with more than 200 developers, and whenever I try to hire people, right? Whenever I try to hire people, I always ask them like the basic fundamentals, because these are the very core things are there, right? So first thing I always ask them, let's say if I'm taking a Node.js interview for a particular candidate, I would definitely ask how Node.js actually works, why are we using it, and how can you actually optimize things with Node.js. These three questions will always be asked. So you have to come up with the right answers, like why are we using Node.js, and how can you actually optimize it using the code also, right? And the best thing, Ayush, and this is for everyone, whoever whoever is going for the interview or trying to get a job, I'm telling you, this is the best thing I can tell you. Always, whatever you try to work upon a single project or a very small project, try to push it on GitHub. Okay. So what happens is, whenever you share your resume to an employer, and so we generally get like thousands of resumes for a particular single job post, right? So it's very difficult to differentiate who's the right candidate and who's not, right? But for me, if I for a developer, if I'm looking at, right, what I would say that, if I can see the GitHub link on your resume, it would be more easy for me to actually consider you for that particular job role, because I will be able to see what kind of a work you have done previously. So it will be very easy for me to you to judge. But let's say someone who does not have put that GitHub account link, and so I will not be able to judge it very correctly, right? I'm not sure how well does he write the code, and how well he knows the Node.js. I mean, writing in a resume, you can write a lot of things. Right now, nowadays, you can just simply type on ChatGPT, create me a good resume. It will create it for you. But right, but eventually, what matters is like how much you know, right? So, and I can see your work through GitHub repositories. So, whatever the work you do, even if it's a small thing, let's say you created a to-do application or a blog application or whatever kind of application you created, just try to push it on GitHub and put that GitHub link into your resume, and that will help you a lot to land for a good interview. So yeah, that is my suggestion for you guys.
Okay, thank you, Yogesh, for your wonderful session. It was really enriching. So, guys, we have, as I mentioned, that we offer Node.js certification workshop program. So, let me walk you through what are we offering. And before that, I'll tell you about Beep. That Beep is a platform that fills the gap between students and the industry. We are also awarded and recognized by Government of Maharashtra in education. We are winners of Global Entrepreneur Awards of United States, and we've been awarded by Director of COEP Pune, then President of MIT WPU. Our founder, Mr. Saurabh Mangrolkar, is a TEDx speaker, and also we have been appeared on Shark Tank. Then we have been featured in media like top medias like Aaj Tak, Times Now, News 18, the Indian Express. As I've mentioned that we have been appeared on Shark Tank India. So I'll walk you through the quick pitch that was in the Shark Tank. Okay. So I'll give you quick course highlights. So we are offering learn anytime and anywhere opportunity along with certification of completion, real world project, lifelong opportunity portals, community support and lifetime access to the courses. Then portfolio and placement. So the basic package that we offer is between 7 to 14 LPA. So the students might, there are chances that they'll get package between 7 to 14 LPA itself. This is the average package. Also, I'll like walk you through the Beep Career Pro. We are introducing Beep Bytes, where We'll be, talking about essential skills and insight to help you stand out, curate video guides on career topics led by industry professionals, bite-sized practical tips for immediate impact. Then we'll also have pro communities that will have exclusive access to network along with engagement and Q&A sessions with industry experts, collaborate, learn and grow within our supportive community. So this is what we are offering in Beep Career Pro. There are premium events and workshop also available. So the initial price is 2,999, but for the webinars attendees, we are offering it for free.
Our courses, Frontend Development, Node.js, Express, are now live. Register now on the link given in the description.